It seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV. But where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely? Lucky there's a Family Guy. Lucky there's a man who positively can do all the things that make us laugh and cry. He's a Family Guy. Alright, no. We're just going to start off by saying that the intro is a lie. You already know it's a lie, so I don't really have need to point it out, but I feel like I'd be doing myself an injustice if I didn't. That little note out of the way, we'll get to the second obvious note so we can make peace with it and move on. Family Guy sucks. Good? Got that? Okay, then let's address the situation at hand. Family Guy started in 1990... no, wait a minute. It didn't. Family Guy started as The Life of Larry and Steve back in 1995 and 1996, respectively, and was solely based on what would inevitably become the Peter and Brian characters in Family Guy 4 years later. We'll just call it Larry and Steve to make things easier. Larry and Steve started out as a children's show. Its jokes were fairly similar to the early Family Guy episodes, with the notable exclusion of the more obvious adult phrasing. Larry and Steve drew much inspiration from 60s comedies and cartoons, and proudly wore that. Family Guy's first broadcast seasons drew inspiration from much of the same, and was met with a fair amount of fandom. Many compared it to The Simpsons, but to be honest, dysfunctional family comedy shows are a dime a dozen, animated or not, so the comparison honestly has no real foundation, save for when both shows decided to deliberately attack one another, one going far beyond acceptable terms after a few back-and-forth attacks. We'll not name names. I'll admit, the first seasons had me laughing. Its cutaway humor was used sparingly at first, like the use of Mrs. Dash, which added a much-needed different note to separate it from other shows. There was a pride seen in the show. Even if you didn't enjoy it, you could tell that the people involved saw it as a labor of love. While it was not my favorite show, I respected it, even when some of the jokes were a little poor or way too over the top. Then it was canceled. Such is life. 3 years and not a single successful new show later, Fox came back to Seth MacFarlane with their tail between their legs. The success of its rebroadcasting on Adult Swim and DVD sales were too large to ignore. Family Guy was back. Or was it? With its revival, something was lost in the process. At first, it was difficult to notice, as any show's revival would be met with praise, especially with great sales and rerun ratings. But as the episodes kept coming and seasons rolled by, there was a distinct difference, easily noticed by even people who didn't watch the show. MacFarlane's project was back, that was for sure, but a bitterness could easily be detected. With his show's ratings blowing executives away, his career was beyond safe. He could get away with murder, which is exactly what he did. Some may say it's his project, his idea, baby. It's his decision what to do with it, as he'd like. True. But as an entertainer, a creator, and with a die-hard audience, there comes responsibility to the project and its fans. Entertainers know this. MacFarlane, however, didn't and doesn't care. He wants shock and controversy, because that brings ratings, which brings money and power. A same-world pseudo-spin-off, American Dad, and a direct tie-in spin-off, The Cleveland Show later, the MacFarlane-verse has taken over television entirely. All three shows getting rebroadcast on several stations and networks, with the amount of the three on TV at any time breaching well beyond 10 hours per day. It's beyond maddening. I hate Family Guy. Not for what it was, and not for MacFarlane's obvious motives, as, to be honest, all reality TV does exactly what he's doing. Shock TV, ratings, money, more shows, more money, so on and so forth. But for the self-destruction of one's own project. Family Guy is now an almost unstoppable train driven by the ideals and direction of a man with no fear. Someone who doesn't hold back and will purposely, and at points more literally, shit all over fans just to elicit more buzz, to gain more speed, and make more money. The show pokes fun at a lot of inappropriate things, which honestly doesn't bother me at all. South Park more or less has done that for the same thing for much longer. Although, with that said, thus begins and ends the similarities between the two. South Park's creators, Matt and Trey, have gone on the record saying that they dislike having their show compared to Family Guy. And guess what? I would too. But there are many others out there whom do the same. A matter of poor timing can always give a joke meant to take something serious and poke fun at it will cause problems, be it a TV show, movie, comedian, or whatever, so it honestly doesn't bother me. Family Guy's lack of substance these days, it lacks heart, soul, and MacFarlane really is the one to blame. A man who casts himself as everyone while having very little talent for voice acting and differentiating characters doesn't honestly deserve to play the entire fucking town. And a person who defends Seth and his ability to create character voices is a deaf one. The long and short of this rant is simply this. Sometimes things are better left in the past. Family Guy was most assuredly one of them.